Okay, everyone, this is the first of the Propelled by Force, which is, even though I think this meeting is one of the crowning achievements of FORCE11, FORCE11 is busy all year long, especially in the activities of its working groups. So we're going to have some lightning talks on some of those working groups right now. This is the order because we have 7.5 hours. People will get 4 minutes each. I'm using my Tabata timer for those of you who know Tabata. So I will give you a 30-second warning, and then after 30 seconds, you're off, okay? And that includes Anita, who's going to be bold enough to do a live demo. All right, so let's get out of this, and this is going to be the order. If I can figure out how to use a PC. Whoops. How do I get to the slides? There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Working groups, annotating all knowledge. Okay, Dan, you are, what is that? Cancel. Do you know how to do the PC? Oh, it's a PDF. Go, okay, you can figure it out.
Hi. I'm Dan Whaley from Hypothesis. Oh, thought that was about to fall. And I'll give you a quick overview. About 75 of us met on Sunday for the first working face-to-face of the Annotating All Knowledge Coalition. An annotation is a thing, a comment or an observation in relation to something else. And web annotations are annotations that are brought together on the fly in the browser. The coalition that we're putting together is a group of like-minded publishers and platforms and other organizations that share an interest in bringing an open, interoperable annotation capability across scholarly content for the benefit of all. It is a FORCE11 working group, and there's the URL. We have over 60 publishers, platforms, standards bodies, and so forth, that have come together as members of this coalition over the last about 3 months. JSTOR, PLOS, Archive, ORCID, many familiar names up there. There's room for more. If you're interested, please join us. And the goal, our vision is that within 3 years, most scholarly works, books, articles, and other digital media will come with the capability for readers and users to create, share, and discover annotations from others around the world, all based on open source software and open standards. The members of the coalition have agreed that they understand this vision, that they're going to work to explore how to incorporate that into their platforms, that they're going to collaborate openly in doing so, and that they're willing to be public about that. And the goal, the reason why we've come together is because scholars really work basically across platforms, and because publishers have shared a common struggle in that they want to enable this kind of collaboration, but they don't necessarily want to build it or own it. And basically the objective here is interoperability, such that within, on top of, say, a journal article, this one as example is on eLife, that eLife could be publishing material, annotations, reviews on top of their articles, but that users could be bringing their own groups from outside onto that content at the same time, and that those annotations coming from different servers come together inside the browser in real time, in layers, essentially, and kind of address that tension between publishers kind of wanting to have control over their message, but users wanting to have their own capabilities. Lots of use cases here, collaborative research, pre-publication peer review, copy editing, discussion, journal clubs, enabling overlay journals easily and simply on top of preprints, invited commentary, deep linking, citation, etc. So that's what we did. We'd love to have more members, more participation.
We have a minute, so if anyone has a question for Dan while we get the next talk up, that is Christy. And so they should all be in here. They should all even be open attribution, right?
Yep.
There we go.
Okay, great. Moving right along. So thank you, everyone. I think everyone in this room, probably more than any other room that exists right now, understands the importance of trying to understand the diverse types of work activities that are happening in research, as well as the diversity of things that are being produced in the context of research that extend far beyond the paper. And that is one of the many things that our working group is thinking about. How do we recognize those activities and outputs and better recognize them in terms of the scholarly process? So our working group really launched out of a workshop at last year's FORCE meeting in Oxford, Contribution and Attribution in the context of the Scholars workshop. During that workshop, there were over 500 outputs that were identified by you, the community, of things that you're doing that you would like to get recognition for. And that really, I think, jumpstarts the conversation about understanding the importance of context in this space. So our working group really has done the majority of the work in the context of events. So there was the FORCE 2015 meeting. A few of us got together for a panel on measuring success at last year's Vivo conference in Austin. And then, of course, this year we've had some time to talk about these topics in the context of the workshop, one of the workshops on Sunday. We have a poster, which I encourage everyone to go and see and ask us, push us to think about the things that are important to you. And then many of you are familiar with the contribution ontology that is part of the Open Vivo project. So just to remind everyone, and I don't need to remind this audience, but just to remind everyone, when you open up the hood of scholarship, it's much more complicated and rich than what we might understand by the things that are very easy to count. And this is, a concept that we've heard over the last several days and especially emphasized today in Cassie's talk. And so we need to figure out a way to be able to recognize and properly celebrate these kinds of contributions. And we thought the best way to do this immediately was to think about this credit taxonomy and build upon it so that we can look beyond those outputs that are manuscripts and looking at trying to represent the diversity of contributions and scholarship. This ontology represents the entire scholarly process so far. It's the first iteration. We've also attempted to recognize the work that is represented in Figshare, and then, as I mentioned, this was loaded into the Open Vivo, and I encourage everyone to take a look at that and go and claim your works. There's a lot of really exciting work in this area that extends beyond our work group. One of the things that I think is most exciting are the alternative metrics working groups that are happening in the context of NISO. This work was generously funded by the Sloan Foundation, and we've gotten a chance to hear some of this work here at this conference, but I also had the pleasure of co-chairing one of these groups with Mike Taylor, where we're looking at persistent identifiers and alternative output types. We have identified some superclasses of output types, and there are a number of things that are listed below those that will be published for public comment here shortly. I hope everyone, we welcome those comments and encourage you to do so. But it's not the only game in town. Everybody's thinking about trying to get a better handle on what's happening. And you'll see that there are a number of other things that are happening, and I look forward to more conversation in this area. So I want to take a minute to acknowledge the working group. We have leaders Karen, Stacy, and Melissa. Mary Jane and Matthew, Violetta, and Mike did a ton of work on the contribution ontology and getting that into that Open Vivo platform, and it couldn't have happened without them and the Open Vivo working group. So thank you.
All right, wonderful. Exactly on time. Okay, next up we have Susanna Sansone, who is leading the Biosharing RDA FORCE11 working group. All right.
Well, let me do full view before you start.
I'm not sure.
It is, no,
Okay.
there is.
Excellent.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Okay, so the Biosharing Working Group, it's a joint activity between FORCE11 and the Research Data Alliance, because we intended to reach out to as diverse and large audience as possible. So I am leading this with my fellow co-chairs, and the focus of this working group is in life science, environmental, biomedical area, but if you do not operate in this area, please do not switch off and do something else, because what we are doing, it is applicable to other areas too, is that we decide to focus on those, and I'll explain you why. So what the group is working on, it's mapping the landscape of data and metadata standards which are being developed and used to describe and share a data set and other research objects. We want to develop indicators to measure the maturity and the use of this standard in databases and in data policy. And we are working, linking up all this information and make it searchable through a registry. The reason why we also choose life sciences, not just because the majority of the people involved are from the life sciences, but also because it's a very complex and diverse landscape. There are over 600 data metadata standards in broad sense from the life sciences. There are thousands of databases and a growing number of policy. But what's not really clear is which of those standards are mature enough that are already being used in databases, therefore there are data annotated according to these standards, and how many policy from funder or from journal actually are recommending which databases or are recommending which standard or both. And that's what we really want to also help people to do. We want to help a variety of stakeholders to make this decision based on the information that we are serving through this interconnected registry of resources. Specifically, we want to help a stakeholder group, which are like the funder, the librarian, the publisher, the editor, people who are developing policy, guiding author, guiding over these, or even actually funding the standard in databases to know what's out there, what's mature enough to be recommended, so they can make their policy a bit more detailed and a bit more clearer, because those will affect how the researchers are sharing and their data, if they're using those standards, if they are posting the data in the right database which implements the standard, and therefore makes their data more shareable and more reusable. So it's a cycle, it's very interconnected, and so the researcher need to be guided to use the right type of standard, the right type of databases. But similar, the people developing those databases, or the curator or the tool developer who need to implement those standards into tool to make the standard invisible so that the researcher can annotate the data following the standard, need to know what's out there, need to know what version they should use, if something it's been deprecated, so on and so forth. So we are not starting from scratch. That would be really impossible. So we are leveraging an effort which my team runs in Oxford as a community resource, which is called BioSharing, established in 2011. We are registering those information, the standard, the description of the database, the policy, and linking them up. And there's a variety of tools, facets, searches, and wizards which we are building. So if you want to know more, come to the poster at lunchtime. I can actually show you things that we have. I want to show you a couple of examples of, yes, practical things that we built. We have actually managed to interconnect the standard, the policy, and the databases, working with the journal editors. And we have in the audience both representatives from Biomed Centra, so Amy Kendall, and from PLOS Biology, which is Emma Ganley, who actually have used the registry to put the policy from the journal and linking to the right standard database that their policy implement. Why this is important? Oh, yes, almost done. Sorry, I was trying to go slow, but yeah. But we are not just working with journal, we are really working with a lot of users, and we have outreached them through a survey collecting over 500 replies, because we need to understand how people want to use this information, therefore to make the information, the connection, and the functionality better. And I just want to close to say the landscape is complex, because there is a lot of things which get deprecated, that superseded, and etc. So having a registry which helps guiding people to make the decision is important, and a lot of people to acknowledge as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. I told you I would be brutal. And now I'm going to apply that to myself, because my colleague Tim Clark could not be here, and he asked me if I would present on his behalf. But I will use the same standards. This is on the data citation working group. And as usual, I cannot figure out, stop, reset, start. Microsoft, oh, there it is. Okay, so this is a very quick summary on behalf of Tim Clark. This is the data citation implementation pilot project. This is a joint project by FORCE11, funded by a supplement to the BioCaddy grant by the National Institutes of Health, the U.S. National Institutes of Health. BioCaddy, as those of you may have seen last night, is building a data discovery index. And of course, proper citation of data sets inside of articles is a very important way by which data becomes discoverable. So very quickly, the goals of this project in 1 year is to have articles published citing robustly archived data, using the Joint Declaration of Data Citation Principles, which was a product that was created by over 25 groups coming together through FORCE11, actually starting at the Beyond the PDF in a meeting in Amsterdam. There were implementation guidelines written about these by Joan Starr, who's around here somewhere. Publicize the results to coordinate and also create a set of common models and roadmaps so that this can be broadly implemented. Of course, I don't need to tell this audience why one wants to cite data. We want to validate scientific conclusions. We want to be able to reuse. We want to have better science through reproducibility. But also, as we've been hearing over and over again, data itself is a scholarly product, and it deserves equal footing to some of the narrative works that we produce. This is a data citation generic example. The data citation principles recommends that it looks like a citation to an article. These are the different parts. And again, this has been around for a couple of years. It's now bringing that into action. So the working group itself has several subgroups that are working on things, as usual, on identifiers, getting the publishers together to share experiences about data citations, working with the repositories to understand what a landing page is, understanding that they are the publishers of the data and they need to start behaving that way in terms of stability. We have succeeded with many efforts in getting the JAT standard modified so that data is an object, and essentially creating useful and helpful materials for those who want to do this. So our motto is in French. You can pronounce it yourself, but the best is the enemy of the good, and the DCIP strategy is to get started and improve over time. These are all the publishers that we've been working with, but we enjoin any of you who are working in data citation across fields. It's biomedicine, but we have a lot to learn, to please join us. Hey, 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Okay. Yes, exactly. I cede those 2 minutes to Anita.
Just to set up the computer, that's,
to get her
doesn't actually.
computer.
Yeah, there we go, and this. Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Wow, yeah, this is predictable, right?
Yes, that's all right. You still have
Okay.
a minute and 45 seconds
Oh,
of my time. There we go.
okay, so I have a different screen. That's all right. We'll move this over. All right.
Is it coming up?
Yes, it is.
Yes. All right,
It's
should I
coming
start?
up in a very interesting way.
Does it need to be mirrored?
I think,
All right, you have a minute for technical problems.
okay, where's my pointer?
Oh, you're not mirrored.
Yeah, I'm not mirrored. I can,
There it is.
F5?
This is a Mac.
This is a Mac. We have. All right, here, I'm just gonna move this. Oh. All
Okay,
right,
you've got 30 seconds of my time left.
okay. View options, show desktop. All right, guys, this is the, oh, well, look at this. Ah, here's my thing. Now just move down. Can you move over? No, you cannot move over. Why? Oh, yeah, I can see it down there. Okay, that's good.
What are you doing?
I'm looking down there, but it's still, it's running off the screen. I
Oh, I
didn't
see. It's
predict
not
that.
mirrored. You need that display. So you need to get your software preferences.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh, you're 8 minutes and 8 seconds in deficit.
Oh, no. Okay, so here is what I'm going to theoretically do.
Where's displays?
Displays.
There it is.
Arrangement,
Ah, that's it. Mirror.
mirror. Here we are.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. That was very difficult. All right.
can you just talk through it?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So
And
here
you
is
have it
here
done.
is the lovely working group page, which I hope you all have seen. And what I wanted to do today, in my 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever I have left, is to convince you that your grandmother is actually much better at open, reproducible science than you are. Now, if I can do that, then I want someone to buy me a beer. All right. Now, if you can believe that this is a fantastic open access publication with a particular title here, Roasted Braised Duck, published on January 24th, 2015 by Judy, not sure of the ORCID ID. Clearly, this is an open access publication, very high impact. There are 43 comments, some nice introduction. Here's what I need for reproducible science. Okay, so basically, I have this nice open access publication with very nice links. You can see these things, light soy sauce, dark soy sauce. Actually, I didn't know what the star anise looked like. If you click on this, you see a picture of that, and you can actually buy it on Amazon for $9.49. Free shipping, folks. That's a good price. All right, so and this is what the star anise looks like. Now, lots of nice methodology here, everything step-by-step directions with everything, and there's the results section right there. Now, let's look at a similar thing. This is a different article, right? So this is actually, this means that these people are squeezing the guts of these little mice. And so now, okay, introduction, I would skip that. Here we go. All right, so now we have the method. So, all right, so we've got this mouse, right? And now I should be able to, similarly to the star anise, go to some sort of a site, like, for example, Jackson Laboratories, and I should be able to find this mouse. Right, so here is that mouse, and right, that's a problem. All right, so let's go back. Now I can do many different kinds of searches, and I'll tell you that they won't come up with anything better. All right, so let's look here. Maybe we'll have better luck with antibodies. So here, 20 minutes on ice, and then stained with this particular antibody from BD Biosciences. So I've actually gone through and I have found that this particular FITC anti-human CD19 also does not exist, right? So I would argue that this is less reproducible than the duck. Now, your grandmother wins, abuelita. Okay, so what I did in lieu of Dan's presentation here is I actually left a public open annotation on hypothesis, and I said, I can't find this mouse. Did that this morning, 3 hours ago, and an hour ago I actually got back an answer from the author who said, there it is. It's strain number 005557. That is the right mouse. So how cool is that, right? All right, so now let's go back to another paper. So this is a neuron paper, right? And neuron is now we're going to feed zebrafish, okay? So, and watch them swim around, and then we're going to chop their heads up. All right, so wait, where are the nice methods there? Okay, 30 seconds. We're going to chop up really fast. Okay, fine. ID, there we go. All right, hey, check this out. There's a bunch of antibodies that are already hyperlinked. That's kind of fancy. And actually, if we go back, there's a bunch of zebrafish that are hyperlinked with, there's a bunch of these things that are already represented in the proper repository. And you say, wow, how cool is that? And what could you do with it? Well, here's one thing you could do with it, like if you're Elsevier.
Yes.
And what you're doing is actually you are hyperlinking actually all of these nice products. So what I would want to do is just tell you very, very quickly that the way to do this is to actually go to the scitecrunch.org/resources site. You put in your search string for like this antibody, for example, and what you do is you take this and you copy and paste it into your paper, into your methods. Do you think people can do this? It seems that they can when compelled properly. And so now the only thing I will tell you is that this is working. Here's that antibody used in all kinds of papers. And here is the rigor and reproducibility section of the NIH new guidelines. And I believe that what they're asking for the roast duck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll go right back in here. Okay. That was impressive, given that we started off a little rough. Julie is now going to talk about RRIDs. Okay. All right. So now the follow-up to that, the technical specifications group. Go.
So fresh out of college, I got my first job, and I was really excited to be working on two of the greatest public health challenges of our time, HIV and tuberculosis. I was in a vaccine lab. And so day one, I was expecting to get a hazmat suit and some information. And instead, I got a pack of dot matrix printouts. Now, what I saw from that dot matrix printouts was 96 well plates and some areas of the plates that were lighting up that were really good vaccine candidates. I had no idea what they were. And so I went from that point to trying to work out what the identifier was. And finally, I got to this. Well, great. Anybody know what that is? Nope. I didn't either. It took me another 3 months. And I found it in a document called fruitrollup.xls. Okay? I might be the only person whose career was saved by a fruit roll-up. So the same thing is happening on a much larger scale, and thanks very much for Anita for highlighting that. The identification gaps that we've got in the literature now are producing massive knowledge gaps. We've got in yellow the things we know, and in white the things we should know but can't know. That's all missing data. And so there are actually lots of people who are interested in fixing this problem. And so our group, the working group, is designed to get these stakeholders in the same room and figure out how to balance and address their needs. So with that, if you could have a look at a little live survey. Here. Melissa, if you can also tweet the link, that would be useful. So if you could go ahead and, as members of the larger stakeholder community, tell us which features of identifiers matter most to you. So go ahead and let us know. Don't everybody speak at once.
Do a show of hands.
Is the internet not working? Okay. Okay.
Show of hands.
Maybe we can just have you can go to the poll afterwards. But sure, quick show of hands. For whom is reproducibility the top priority? Okay. For whom is facilitating synthesis research in? Oh, woo. Magic.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Okay, last. Next and final question. And this might be better suited to the people who have been in the background. But if you have a preference about how these identifiers look like when they show up in the literature, what does that look like? I don't have time to go into all the detail of the sort of full stack, full metal jacket due diligence, but there you have it. And please do come and visit the poster for some more details, and feel free to ask any questions. We want everybody to have a say. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. And last, I think I downloaded, did I not download yours? Oh, no, here it is. Okay, last we have the software citation group, and they said they were going to determine who's going to present. So here's our team.
We're still deciding. All right, yeah, we've been working since April last year. I got a slightly strange email from somebody at Force. This is my first experience at Force, saying, do you know anybody who'd be interested in software citation? I was like, yeah, I'm really interested. They were like, cool, go find another co-chair to work on this working group. So I found Dan, thankfully, my willing partner, and later we brought on extra support from Kyle. So we've been in this working group for about close to a year now, and have been basically trying to build upon, I guess, initially the data citation principles, but to learn from what's happening in the community around software citation across lots of different research domains, and to build a consolidated set of principles for endorsement and then working through into kind of implementation. And so this was not a group that was aimed at looking at kind of technical specifications, although lots of us want to think about that as well, so there's lots of work to be done. But very, very briefly, about 55 people from a large range of domains. Kyle kind of came in from the WISPY conference series, and that community came and joined us. So we had a kind of mass joining of the WISPY crowd who are interested in this as well. And so we've produced a document that Dan will say a little bit more about in a second, but very briefly we went through a sort of broad review of existing practices. Also spent a lot of time thinking about use cases and how those would then, how the principles could be kind of informed by the use cases where places we would like to see software citation happen, be captured, and we're pretty pleased with where we've got. So I'm going to let Dan go to the meat of what we have.
Okay, thanks. So, right, so we have a document, and we're doing everything on GitHub collaboratively, and the link down on the bottom is where we're actually working. So if you like looking at LaTeX, then that's the place to go. If you want to look at PDF or something more easy, then hold on until the next slide. But basically, the document has 6 principles that we came up with: importance, credit and attribution, unique identification, persistence, accessibility, and specificity. And you'll recognize, if you've seen the data citation principles, these are similar but not the same, and that's explained why we've done that in the motivation, the summary of use cases, as Arvind was mentioning, the related work that we went through, and then the group discussion has led to this. And the group discussion, in addition to these principles that are at the front of the document, gives some recommendations about how the principles might be applied. So, yeah, so again, we're in GitHub. This is linked from the FORCE11 page, and all the discussion, almost all the discussion has been through GitHub issues. And you should be able, if you are interested, to see where anything came from, what version of the document there used to be, and why it has been changed, what the reason was, and who asked for it to be changed. So where we are now going forward is that we will be posting the document on the FORCE11 website, so as a web page to make it easy to read, hopefully in the next few days. We'll have to arrange exactly how that happens. And then we'll have a 2-week open comment period to get feedback from the much wider FORCE11 community that's here, as well as the people that aren't here. We'll use that then to generate an updated version that will be published on the FORCE11 website, but also on some kind of an archival site. And we're not sure exactly which one yet, but something that'll give us a DOI, so there will be a record of this and not just a web page. Thank you. We'll follow that up with an endorsement period where we'll be looking for individuals and organizations to agree with this and to commit to supporting it. We will create an infographic and a few slides that can be used for others to present this and to talk about it in the community. And then we'll basically finish at that point. And we hope that a software citation implementation group will start, which will do things similar to what the data citation pilot and implementation group is doing, to actually work with institutions and publishers and funders and researchers, and to fully write out the implementation examples that are needed to make sure that this actually works and to try it in a few different cases. So
Are we done?
we're done.
Yay, okay. All right, we are 5 minutes over, but I'm sure many of you thought we would be a lot more over, so congratulations to the speakers for more or less staying on time. And again, these will be represented in the posters outside, so if you have specific questions, we can bring them up then. Thank you, everyone.